So the other day I did a video criticizing AEW Dynamite from last week, which I thought was like the worst show they've put on in a long, long time. And then I go and I see this pop up on my feed. And I've been saying this for a while to my friends, but I really do feel like the absolute worst thing about AEW is Tony Khan. If Tony Khan didn't say things constantly that has me rolling my eyes or shaking my head, it wouldn't be an issue. My first AEW show I went to was All Out 2019. And when the show ended, Tony Khan came out, thanked everybody for coming, and said that they're hoping to run All Out in Chicago every year. It became a tradition. And I respected that. And if that was going to be TK's role, I would be fine with it. But every time he's on TV, he's very awkward. He dresses like a homeless person sometimes. He looks shaggy sometimes. But really what bugs me is the shit that he says. He's not a good booker. I stand by that. But when you say things like this, bro, it just cements the fact that A, your ego's out of control, and B, you're delusional. He writes, Tony Khan calls AEW run the greatest of Sting's career. So what he's saying is that his run, Sting's run in AEW, which, by the way, 95% of his run in AEW is him being Darby Allin's sidekick. He's supposed to be Darby's, mentor. Sting has not had a singles feud in AEW since coming in. It's always been with Darby, helping Darby, being next to Darby. And that's fine because older talent giving young talent the rub is okay. But the fact that this freaking moron, this silver spoon baby, I'm going to say it, I'm tired of being nice about this, Tony Khan says that Sting's best run is as Darby Allin's sidekick, better than what he did in TNA, when he really helped out TNA with the merchandise and he was a top guy there. Better than he did in WCW, where he was the only superstar that was drawing big babyface money in the early 90s before Hogan showed up. And then during the NWO angle was the hottest babyface and the centerpiece of the biggest storyline in WCW history. The feud with Sting and Hulk Hogan was the best thing WCW did during the Monday Night War, and the most profitable thing because it led to a Starrcade 97, which was a Sting versus Hulk Hogan as a main event, and it was WCW's biggest buy rate in company history, something like 700,000 or 725, a number that AEW couldn't reach on its best day. They just couldn't. And I roll my eyes because every time Tony Khan does an interview and says something stupid or egotistical and self-centered, like, well, I know more about wrestling than Ted Turner, I have more money than Jim Crockett. Dude, you don't know anything about wrestling. Well, that's not true. He does know about wrestling. Ted Turner's the guy who didn't know anything about wrestling. So saying that you know more than Ted Turner when Bischoff was the one in charge of WCW during its peak, no duh. Yes, you know about matches that happened 20 years ago. Guess what? So do I. So do a lot of people. That's fine. Disrespectful, pissed off Eric Bischoff. And then for him to say something like, I have more money than Jim Crockett, that's because you inherited it from your father, dude. You didn't make that money. What kind of brownie points do you get for inheriting money from your daddy, bro? From your fucking daddy, who really is the real alpha of that family, coming to this country without nothing and making himself a billionaire. And you're going to sit there and take credit for having money when you were literally doing nothing but watching wrestling on TV and playing video games while your dad actually did all the work? Come on. And then the other stuff he says about how in 2021 he said that AEW in 2021 was like WCW in 96. How? WCW in 96 was destroying WWF almost every week. Especially the second half of the year when the NWO kicked off. WCW was literally changing the business. You got Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. Bryan Danielson, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. CM Punk, well, I used to like him a lot more than I do now. They're not Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. They're just not. They might be better wrestlers in the ring than Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I'll give you that. But to say that it's like 96 WCW, dude, like, is this guy delusional? Like, there's been jokes made about And I'm not going to make the jokes, but that he's under substances and things like that. We can't prove that. It's kind of rude to say things like that if you don't know. Obviously, we can joke around and all that. I don't want to make any allegations towards this guy, but when he says things like this, it makes me not want to support AEW. AEW's biggest enemy is also its biggest asset, and that's not WWE, that's Tony Khan. If Tony Khan would just be the money guy, let somebody else run the company, it would be doing a lot better. But no, he has to run it. He has to be the booker, even though he clearly sucks at it. His wrestlers are fighting amongst themselves every other week, it seems. There's some kind of drama. He is not a leader. He can't control his own locker room. And then he goes and it's like every other week he says something stupid like this. Tony Khan calls AEW run the greatest of Sting's career. That's freaking mind-blowing, dude. That is mind-blowing to say something like that. When Sting in the 90s was nearly, or was in some parts of the world, a household name. You realize that casual people don't even know that AEW exists? They don't even know that Sting's still wrestling. Now, maybe his AEW run's better than his WWE run. I'll give you that. Because that build up to the Triple H match, although it was okay, the match itself, I didn't like the finish. That was very, that finish was very egotistically based. And very, pointless, honestly. I didn't like that. But it seems like every time Tony Khan, something comes out of his mouth, it's always something stupid that makes him look dumb. That's why people clown on him, like other podcasts do, because he says dumb shit every time he talks. Just don't talk to the media anymore, dude, or at least learn how to deal with it. Because right now, man, this dude's an embarrassment to the business.